Hey there, Miss Becky. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm so happy to be on episode 38 with you.
I know, me too. I've missed you for sure.
I know, crazy, crazy life. I mean, all of us just do this from home and in our spare time. So yeah, and we got
Yes, I'm in my wonderful, very non-decorative office right now, so it'll get done. We just moved in here in December, so it'll get
that
done
looks
one of these
much
days.
better than some backdrops I've seen on Zoom calls. You're doing okay.
Well, we tried the whole green screen, and I just don't like to kind of cut in and out and look like I'm half there and I'm kind of
I
some
don't
kind
either.
of like
It
electronic
never
device.
works right. That's technology I think they're still working on.
Yeah, exactly. They have to work around it. Maybe put us in the very front of whatever's in the background there.
Yeah.
A little bit
something
better,
like that.
so I don't blend in and kind of cut in and out like I'm some part of like a TV screen or something.
Yeah, like pixels are cutting
Yeah.
out of your hair and stuff.
Like, wait, I do have hair.
yeah. I did fix my hair before this.
Well, welcome everybody to Freedom Matters Live. We are Teresa and Becky, and tonight we have a couple things we're going to talk about before our special guests come on. His name is Rick Garcia. He's running for position 7. Is it position 3?
I think it's 3.
I think it's 3. I said
I just
that
looked
wrong.
it up.
Yeah, David Hamilton is position 7. We just interviewed him a few weeks ago, and Rick Garcia is running for position 3 against the incumbent Jim Rice. So we're going to start tonight. He's going to join us in a little bit. We're actually going to talk about a few news things that happened in the news the past week or so, and kind of get you all updated. So we do see that Mr. Garcia is waiting in the wings, so we try not to be too long here. But maybe talk about one news, and then we'll get him right on. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the buzz about the mask mandate elimination by this judge, Catherine Mizell in Florida. She's a federal judge, and she came out on Monday after Biden had tried to extend the mask mandate through May 3rd, even though it was supposed to end on the 18th of April, after 5 times of extending it. And so Catherine Mizell is the judge that ended the mask mandate nationwide. And what's really great about that is that airlines, wow, they were ready to go. I think it was 7 p.m. on Monday night that they could actually start implementing this freedom. And so everybody, if you search a little bit on Twitter, you probably see a lot of videos there of, there's one right there.
Yeah. Do you want to play this one?
Yeah.
Because the guy here looks super happy. The airline steward guy, he's happy to be announcing this, and he has his mask off already. So
yes.
Here we go.
We just got an announcement a few minutes ago. Some of you may have seen the press release today that a judge overturned the mask mandate. My company announces that this morning, if you choose to, you may remove your mask.
He's smiling. Don't you know he's happy?
Yeah.
People are clapping.
My favorite is I think that there were already people who were sitting there without their mask on because he just said it.
Yeah. They're like, we know what's coming. They were reading on their phone, oh, federal judge lifted the mask mandate.
Okay, see ya.
Yeah. Anyway.
And crazy. I tried to find the article where there were 2 airlines who were going to continue to require it, but they have since, I can't find I remember seeing an article early on in the week, I think it was Tuesday morning, where they were going to continue on their airlines. I don't remember if it was United or something like that, but I'm not going to say that for sure because I don't remember which 2. I was trying to find it tonight, but now all of them. So there's this, I saw a lot of them have just completely decided, you know what, we're not going to require it for our flyers or patrons, and we're not going to even require it for our employees now. So it's been really great. So airlines, I haven't seen one that's still requiring it. The only situation is if there's places that have an ordinance or a city that has an ordinance where their mask mandates are in place there, you may have to wear your mask. So If you're traveling, just check with the airline to make sure. And the only other part is if it's an international flight and where your destination requires masking internationally, you might have to wear a mask.
Right.
So it'll be interesting because if you're in the United States, over United States air, I wonder how that works. Do you have to wait until you're in international waters, which I heard that there's like no rules there. It doesn't count.
Yeah.
And wait until you get into, I don't know how that's going to work.
I know. I guess technically you didn't have to be wearing the mask over international waters either, because that's no man's land. But
Exactly. So
if you take it off, they're going to jump all over you. But yeah.
What are they going to do? Are they going to really turn you around halfway through your 14-hour flight internationally to take you back home? Well, I seriously doubt that they're going to waste all that money.
No.
Or they'll fine you, I guess, for it.
Yeah.
So they are ending the mask mandates. And there was another video. I wish I had saved it. It was another flight attendant, and he was singing and he was holding out the trash bag all the way down the aisle. Take off your mask. It was really good. Better than my voice, but it was really cool. So there's a lot of people around our country, I'm sure around the world too, they're like, man, every single time they give us back some freedom, we are just ecstatic. And hopefully we get to the point where they really can't take that away. So I guess the real challenge right now is that the CDC is being challenged whether or not they even have the right to enforce any type of mandate. Okay. And I believe that's probably why Biden came out and signed an executive order or whatever he did for the extension of 2 weeks, that now with this federal judge saying it's unconstitutional to have this mask mandate through the CDC, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So it's really a kind of
like she's setting a precedent that she's saying, no, CDC, you don't make the rules, you just make recommendations.
Right, exactly. And I wonder how this is going to really reshape the CDC and what I think they just had so much power. They pretty much shut down the cruise lines for how long? I mean, it was a really long time that no one could cruise at all. And then it was Governor DeSantis, I think, in Florida that said, you know what, we're going to start, if you want to, in and out of the Florida shipyards, you can start here in Florida. Wow. And some I don't remember if it was Carnival that started out of there first, but he kind of opened up like the gateway to that happening. So that was really cool. Yeah. But her name is Catherine Mizelle. She struck down that mask mandate. I've never heard of her before, so I now want to know all about her. And of course, if you see a headline from like the Post or something like that, you're going to see that she was a Trump appointed. I mean, they always make it political, right? So
right. I think she's pretty young, right? She's like 35 or something.
Yeah, let me show you.
Yeah,
I have her pulled up right here.
Yeah, I mean, to be so brave. I mean, maybe it almost takes a younger person to say, you know what, I don't care what you think about me. I'm going to do what's right here. Okay.
Yeah, that's her right there. She looks pretty young. I have to. She's 33. So,
33. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, she's a rising star, I think.
Well, hold on. She was 33 when she was appointed in 2020. So she might be 35, 34, 35.
34, 35.
Still, yeah, still about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, that makes me feel like, what am I doing with my life? 34.
I know, right? Well, this is where you can actually see the 59-page ruling to see exactly what she said and why she said it on the NPR.org. So that's where I found that.
Okay. How cool.
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting. So I thought, man, that would be really great. I think it sets the precedence for other judges if there's issues anywhere else. I mean, this is basically kiboshing the whole national mandate anyway. So guess what the administration is doing? The Washington administration? What are they doing?
What?
How did they respond? The Department of Justice is so wonderful, aren't they? So the department.
They're only there for our good, Teresa. Don't you know?
Of course. So guess what they did? Well, I don't really like CNN, but let me share this one.
Did CNN actually say something conservative, or maybe just stated the facts for once?
No, just came out yesterday that after Monday's ruling, the DOJ is going to appeal the federal ruling on transportation mask mandate. So, it'll be really interesting to see what happens if people actually, I want to say that the DOJ is going to have to go through maybe the Supreme Court to get that overruled. I'm not exactly sure
That's what it sounds
that process.
like. Yeah. I mean, if it was a federal judge who brought this ruling down, I mean, I know nothing about the courts, but yeah, they'll probably have to appeal it at a high level. That's for sure.
And interesting, they didn't include a request for a stay, which would have put it back in order right away. So, and we're not really under any kind of emergency any longer. So I know that those 10 airline CEOs had come out in January requesting that they be reversed. And of course, since then, they've extended that through April 18th was the last date. So I like how the ruling came out right at the right time. It was right after that was supposed to end, and it finally did. Mm-hmm. But the DOJ is going to do their thing, so we'll see what happens there. But I really wonder if people are going to listen. I mean, there were already so many problems because people didn't want to wear a mask, and every airline. What I like about it, is that it still gives you the option if you are really one of those persons that is very fear mongered, then you can continue to wear your mask all you want. Wear 2 masks, wear 3 masks, whatever you want to do. You still do whatever you feel comfortable with. You don't have to, they're not reversing the mask mandate saying you cannot wear a mask altogether. So for those who still want to wear it and feel like, it works, then keep wearing your mask,
That's never going to be a thing where you can't wear a mask. You can always wear one. And if you're that worried, get yourself an N95 or, whatever, because if you're paying attention enough to be afraid of COVID, then you should realize the paper mask, the medical whatever is not protecting you. So what are you doing? Why are you making the rest of us wear something that we can see doesn't work?
Right. I saw a short video of a doctor yesterday who was basically telling her patients, and I'm not sure if she came out on MSNBC or CNN or one of those mainstream media outlets, but she basically recommended to the people whoever she was talking to, saying, you know what, if you feel uncomfortable, wear your mask, bring some extra masks, and ask everybody around you to put one on.
Everyone loves that kind of person.
First of all, if I'm on the plane and I don't have a mask on, if you tell me to put a mask on, you're probably going to hear an earful from me. Because I've been waiting to fly because of this stupid mandate. So, like, I dare you to tell me.
There will be no compliance here, lady.
No. You know what? If they worked and this was really a big pandemic, of course, I have no problem doing that. But I'm not.
If they worked, the rest of us would be wanting to protect ourselves as well. And you're right. If this was something people were dying from, Oh, it doesn't make sense.
No, but Delta Airlines, American Airlines, United Airlines, they are all saying the same thing. We are done with these mask mandates. We are done having to battle the people because they really don't want to wear masks. So
good. They should have spoken up sooner. I don't trust any of them now. They just went along with it,
Exactly. But what the bottom line is? It's going to be their pocketbook, right? Yep. So hopefully they've learned their lesson. So United Airlines, let's see here, Delta Airlines, effective immediately. I mean, it's all effective immediately. What I like about a lot of it is that they're not even most of them are not requiring their employees to wear them either. So
that's good.
Delta, United Airlines, Southwest. And of course, they have their disclaimer. We understand that everyone has a feeling about everything. Alaska Airlines.
Speaking of employees having the option to wear a mask, have you noticed, like, you walk into a fast food restaurant and it's clear they're not requiring the employees to wear it anymore, but all of the younger, like the really young kids operating the cash registers are wearing the mask, and you got the cook in the back who's probably like 35 and he doesn't have one on. Like, you can see people's perspectives based on the mask wearing.
Oh my gosh, it's really interesting because I went yesterday. I was just thinking about this before the show too. I was like, man, I just went into a Chick-fil-A. Sometimes we go I think at least once a week, maybe twice, maybe 3 times a week. We'll go to Chick-fil-A, maybe 4. No, I'm just kidding.
It's so good.
It is so good. But I went in and they finally opened up indoor dining probably only about a month ago.
Oh, wow. Really?
And in our area here, maybe a month and a half. And so
Okay.
we finally able to go inside to order, and everyone had no one had a mask on. I was like inside jumping for joy because it was just a few, like last week, I believe, where people were still wearing masks when I went inside. And so it was really good to see that, because maybe this Judge Catherine set a precedent for everything, not just airlines, and not just transit too. So anyway, JetBlue is good to go. All of these airlines some of these airlines, I'm like, I didn't even hear about that one. I don't even know what it is. But anyway, that's really cool that happened. And not only that, but I was reading up on airports, even the TSA, they kind of went back and forth because I think everybody was waiting for Biden and, the White House to give their press release on their opinion about it. And at first, of course, Biden was like, well, everyone has the choice. But then he came around and said, well, we have to talk to the CDC. And now, of course, 2 days later, after this reversal of this mandate, is he going to, him and the DOJ are going to kind of push back. Mm-hmm. But Amtrak is not requiring it. Uber and Lyft is not requiring it. But I did read that except in New York City, because they're still requiring masks there.
Okay.
And local transit, like commuter trains, subways, those policies will remain. So commuter trains and subway policies, whatever their policies were before, are going to remain. Which
that fall under the city, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that basically means that they're going to keep their mask mandates for now.
Okay.
So, and the really cool thing is charter buses. So if you could take a bus instead of flying if you want to.
Yeah.
Charter buses like Greyhound, Megabus, and Coach, they're no longer requiring masks either.
Okay.
So that's really cool.
Yay. Celebration. It just makes you think, what's the next thing that's going to come, though? COVID is hopefully dying down, but what is the next grab for freedom that we're going to experience?
Right. Well, I think the DOJ's point is we don't know what's going to happen with this other Omicron variant. It's like, really? Come on. Is anyone really listening to this crap anymore? Anyone really paying attention?
And if they aren't they tired of it? Even if you believe all the lies,
Exactly. Well, I think we can get on into having our candidate for Fort Bend ISD Board of Trustees on. We'll have Mr. Rick Garcia.
Sounds good.
He is running against Jim Rice, the incumbent Jim Rice, for position 3 on the Board of Education here in Fort Bend ISD. So
great. I think let's see, I can add him.
I can add him. Yep, there we go. Oh. Sorry.
Ah!
We're going to add you. We're playing peekaboo.
We keep clicking and then clicking.
How
are you, Rick?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, Rick.
Good to have you.
How are you doing?
Doing good. A little tired, but I am doing well.
You've had a long day.
Yeah.
You just got out of a meeting, right?
Yeah, we had a teacher forum, and I thought it was very important to get to speak to the people that are on the front lines, my wife included. She's a teacher. Love to be able to get to do one with parents and also students. It's just, it's getting hard. And then early voting's next week. So we're going to be bouncing around between polls and trying to figure out where the hot spots are. So I definitely would love to get some feedback from, I am getting feedback. There were some parents there anyway in general, but we had a meet and greet Tuesday, and we had 3 students that were there, which is really, really cool. And then we had one guy that just walked by. I had my yard signs out. It was out at the Vino and Vinyl and Sugarland Town Square. And he just saw my sign. He just came in. So I just wanted to come in and let you know I'm voting for you. I got to go off to the next thing. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. Thank you for coming.
That's great.
So
that's encouraging.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We had the forum last night, the big Fort Bend Chamber Forum. So we just finished all that, and I don't think there's any more forums, thank God. But yeah, we're rocking and rolling.
That's great.
Excellent. Well, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, Rick, and just in case they don't know yet.
Sure. So I like to tell people I'm a retired teacher, but I used to, it was my first job out of college. I was a 7th grade Texas history teacher. And my wife and I, we taught at the same school. We both got a job on the same day at the same job fair at the same school, and that school is Garcia Middle School. No relation. But I let the students think what they wanted to think. They thought it was my school. I said, "You're darn right, it's my school." Yeah, absolutely. So
that's how you keep them in line.
That's right. That's right. Don't mess around in my school. But I now work in the IT industry. Actually, work for an airline. We were talking about airlines earlier. And I am a project manager, team lead, 100% remote, been remote for a few years, and did a lot on the Office 365 collaboration team, like SharePoint, like OneDrive, like Microsoft Teams. And I've got 2 kids that go to Fort Bend ISD schools. I've got a freshman, and I've got a 5th grader at Oakland Elementary. So I'm running, and I was going to run last year. This is such a hard decision. I can't. I envy a lot of people that run for office and run, and especially people that have run multiple times. It's definitely a lot of work, and it's not so much that it's a hard thing, but it is definitely a lot of work, especially if you have a full-time job and you're trying to manage those things. I've had my fair share of taking off all of next week, and then just trying to balance between this and going to events, but. The whole reason why I'm running is I love this district. We were kind of bouncing around between Richmond. We bounced around between Lamar, Fort Bend, Lamar, and then back to Fort Bend. And it's like, we really want our kids to go, Fort Bend. Fort Bend's a really good school district. And when you buy a house in the community, and they always put Fort Bend ISD schools, top rated school district and whatever, that sold us. Yeah. And then I've always been a very active and engaged parent from day one. And recently there's been a whole lot of issues going on in the classroom, a lot of things that you don't really see and hear at board meetings, and board trustees don't really hear and see at board meetings, because that's not typically what the executive teams, when they're presenting, that's what they're saying. So when you have a background in teaching, a lot of friends that are teachers, your wife's a teacher, and you have lots of friends, and you hear what's going on. And being as active as involved as I've been, I'm like, I've got to do something. This is just ridiculous. And the rise in distractions has led to a massive decrease in our educational performance. And some folks like to get my camera straight here. Education outcomes or academic performance has been slipping, and a lot of it's been COVID related, but COVID has actually masked a lot of the real problems that have been going on. And we've had a lot of really good success in this district. 2017, 2018, HEB School Board of the Year, HEB School District of the Year, very prestigious awards. And HEB does a tremendous amount for public education. Charles Butt, the founder of HEB, also founded an organization called Raise Your Hand Texas. And they do amazing work advocating for children and public education and for teachers on behalf of all ISDs across the state of Texas, bringing more awareness for why we need more public funding, more state funding, increase in services for our kids, all day, full day pre-K, teacher salary increases and things like that. So I'm running to serve at that highest level. I do a lot right now for the community, and it's something that's been calling to me, and it's all about giving back and getting to the real root of the problem and helping to solve those things that I know some of the trustees that have been there a while, just, complacency, just out of touch, just don't really, that's just not what's going on in their head. So being very close to that, have a very vested interest, having kids in that district, have a wife in the district. It's all about, in addition to educational outcomes, also about security, because the last thing I need is something happens, something's going on. And I never get calls from the school, but when I get a call from the school, I'm like, what happened? Something happened with my kid, you just kind of lose it there for a second. And so, yeah, I'm running for the the good of the community, my neighborhood, and my family.
What would you say would be your top 3 priorities that you could bring really good perspective, some new perspective to the board if you were elected?
So the top priority, and it's changed. My website's got a list of things that I have, but when you campaign, you realize, well, maybe this should be the number 1 priority, and then you go talk to this district. Wow, maybe this should be a top priority. And safety and security is typically always the top. I founded the Neighborhood Watch in my neighborhood. Also at the top is no discipline without consequences. That's something that they implemented back in 2018, and it's not working. And we have to get control of our classrooms. Teachers are leaving the profession in record numbers, and you can say it's pay all day long, overwork, but teachers, the pay is not the real issue. It is an issue, but they're tired of being overworked and underappreciated. And you could say that, oh, we appreciate our teachers so much, but it's what you actually do that affects what they're thinking and what you're not doing. And you're not supporting them in the classroom. You're not making sure that if a child or kids are fighting or they're misbehaving in class and they don't get reprimanded, nothing happens, there's no consequences, that's disrespectful to the teachers. And that's a whole lot of what's been going on typically in this district. And then I would also say boundaries is going to be a big issue coming up. And boundaries right now is probably not next year, but probably the year after is when they're going to look at high school, middle school rezoning for my side of town, at least northwest side. But I think that may actually include the entire district. We'll have to see. So making sure that we do that with some compassion, because there's a lot of community schools, a lot of neighborhood schools, and folks don't want to leave their school that they've been going there for so long. We've got to figure out ways to do this where it's as fair as possible for everybody and done with compassion, because we can't just say rip the band. I have people say rip the Band-Aid off, and that's not really
right.
That's a little harsh. So
exactly. I've been in the district this is my 14th year. I was a teacher. I was a 4th grade teacher, and now I'm a librarian in Fort Bend.
Oh yeah.
And so you had some really good points there about the teachers being overworked. It just seems like, and with every new superintendent, things change. I did speak to a teacher earlier today who said that she went to one of the committee meetings with Dr. Whitbeck, and it seems to be very positive that they're actually listening to the teachers' input. So that seems to be a really good, a nice change there. But it seems like, because I worked in other districts, and I worked in Spring ISD before coming here. It does seem like my first year was like, it was harder than my first year. So it was like they pile. They don't take anything off. Everything becomes really important. And then it just bogs down. And then, of course, you have like state mandates or state House bill, whatever. Then you have to do
45. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think a lot of the teachers are feeling that struggle right now in K through 3rd, and specialists like myself, we did the Reading Academy last year. So what can happen as far as taking some things off? Because it seems like we need to get back to the basics. Why don't we just get back to the basics of let's teach math, reading, writing? Why are kindergartners not engaged in play? Why is it such a big deal for them to learn so much content? How come they can't learn to work together in small groups or do all of those role playing? I was talking to a kindergarten teacher last week who was telling me, we used to be able to have all of these puppets and different things, and they would role play. I mean, even my daughter's in middle school now, but when she was in kindergarten, they still had the things that they could role play. It just seems like everything is trickling down from 7th grade down to 4th grade. The TEKS several years ago that used to be 7th grade are now 5th grade, 4th grade. Just seems like they're piling more, and then you have to adjust. And of course, with COVID and all of the online schooling that didn't really help the situation, how would you tackle really kind of taking off of teachers' plates? Like, what would be your priorities, I guess, in whatever position you're able to take that way?
Yeah, so definitely working with the superintendent. A trustee doesn't come in and say, well, we need to, we can make the suggestion all day long. At the end of the day, the decision is going to be with the executive team and how they handle. But I like the idea of being a trustee and having that influence, because we're ultimately the ones that decide policy. We can make policy, we can affect policy, we can say we can write a policy that we're going to do these things, and this is what it needs to be. And I like Dr. Whitbeck. She's doing an amazing job, and she's actually going to visit my wife's campus tomorrow. She's making the rounds. She's hearing from teachers, and they've done some work now to eliminate some of the things that the additional work that's placed on the teachers. And I was at the forum, and that's one of the things that we talk about is all the different PDs that they have to do, professional developments, and it's we can eliminate some of the PDs, and they do have some required PDs they have to do every year. Mm-hmm. And unless you're fortunate enough, like my wife, get a lifetime teaching certificate, which 25 years ago was the last year that they offered it, and last year while we were there, you do have to get recertified every five years, I think, 4 or 5 years.
Yep,
so, and yeah, you add that in conjunction with the stuff that you got to do for preparing for that exam, and all the different PDs that you have to do, all the different certifications that you have to have. If you're an English teacher and you have the TELPAS certification, you got to get GT certified. You got to get your
ESL
certifications. Yep. So in some cases, I don't understand why we have to require all certifications for all teachers if they're not going to teach those. If they're not in GT, they're mostly mainstream. TELPAS is typically only for your reading and your ELA teachers. But I think everybody has to get ESL certified now, especially now, because with the district being as diverse as it is, you have to be able to understand that dynamic. But absolutely, the paperwork, and I'm a technologist, and I don't like to reinvent the wheel, but I like to use technology. Technology, the overall definition of what technology is anything that makes life easier. It sort of streamlines your process, and in what I do with SharePoint and workflows, it's optimizing your business processes, streamlining your business processes is the buzzword in that particular field. So take some of the technology, and I'm not a believer of throwing technology at it to see if it fixes the problem, because a lot of times, and especially in school districts, that doesn't work if you don't teach it and you don't get it adopted. And what they do a lot at the districts is they say, oh, we bought this new program and here's a PowerPoint on how to use it. Good luck. And then they have different specialists at every one of it's pretty much a teacher they train, and then they're supposed to go and train the teachers. And
right.
It's very difficult. That's just a challenge, because the teacher that has to do it also has to teach and do all those other things. So when we implement new system, you have to work really hard to make sure that it is utilized and it gets adopted. And if the utilization and adoption rate is very low, then we just wasted a whole bunch of money, which is something that happens very regularly in this district.
Yes.
It happens very regularly, especially with a district this size, especially with a overhead of the administration that we have is pretty big administration building. I'm not saying that we don't need it, but we definitely need all those resources because of how many students we have. 78,000 students. So making sure that we do it in a manner that everybody knows what's going on. We have like all the different communication platforms. You have teachers that send out newsletters this way and this way and this way, and then the district sends out this kind of email and then this kind of email. Then you got Remind, you got Class Dojo, all these different methods for communication. And I've got all these different apps on my phone. I'm like, what am I supposed to use here? You know,
we mainstream everything into one or maybe
Yeah.
two options. Yes.
yeah.
Well,
So,
I mean, and not only that, but if every single time they implement something new, I mean, every year there's new, and I'm not saying that new technologies are not great, because of course, Schoology has come in really handy for teachers when we were teaching online. Even now, you go back and you can still kids can still take their quizzes, and then you can add the grade in there, and then that links to Skyward to input your grade. So that's saving some time for the teachers for sure. But what happens is that they adopt a new technology, you have to learn it, then you have to implement it, and then next thing you know, there's a new one. And then 2 years later, there's a new one. And I'm just wondering if some of those can't be that there's updates to those companies, and maybe there's reasons behind the scene that there's no more bid for that particular company anymore or something like that.
Yeah, and what a lot of times happens, especially now, more of these companies, when they sell software, they'll set it up as a subscription model so that they're getting a constant stream of revenue coming in. Whereas you would sign a 3-year EA enterprise agreement, and you purchase the software. It's this big, huge. Microsoft does it this way, but it's a 3-year agreement, and then that's their annual charge. Well, not their annual, but they still basically it's a monthly, what they bill you in 3-year increments. So on older software, you would have the actual program, and it would be the physical one copy, and then it wouldn't automatically update until you renewed your agreement. And they would have security updates and things with that. And now everything's a subscription model, so the software is cloud or cloud subscription. So you're paying for it every month, but you're also getting updates, subscription, new versions every month. And that's how Office 365 works. So if you have Office 365 on your computer, and one day you got a new button somewhere, oh, what's this?
Right.
That's sort of how that works. They kind of dictate your updates. And at the enterprise level, we have a little bit more control over that. We don't want updates too often. We want to be able to give users time to adjust. But a lot of the software that we're using at the school district level, you definitely want to make sure that you vet the companies, and a company that's been in business for 2 years. I don't know if we want to go that route. We spend all this money for a company that we don't know if they're going to be around in 2 years.
Right.
But certainly companies that have been there, that are proven that are used in other districts. I'm a big believer in doing modeling. Like I tell we tell our kids, my wife tells our students, modeling behavior. It's the same at this level. The school district's not perfect. It's such a large undertaking, a huge budget that they manage. Their school district budget is larger than a lot of small third world countries. So definitely there's a lot going on there, but I'm definitely intrigued by the fact that we do some things right. There's a lot of things we don't do right, and that's why I'm running. But I'd like to go and look at other, especially with our campuses, where some campuses are doing very well with test scores and behavior and things like that. How can we take what they're doing and learn from that and try to replicate some of that models in schools where there may be lower performing schools or schools with discipline issues, getting principals more engaged. And maybe they do some of that now, I imagine, where they're getting more engaged, where at least just because you're a principal doesn't mean you can't have a mentor. Having mentors and coming up with new strategies and new suggestions. And I do appreciate the continual learning in education, because you have to. You have to come up with new strategies. And when that restorative discipline first came out, it was sort of a new thing, and it was, that's great, positive. And there's nothing wrong with positive behavior enforcement strategies, but at the end of the day, if you slap a bus driver on the back of the head on the way out of the bus, which is actually, this happened a month ago, they only suspend you for 4 days. To me, that's unacceptable. When I hear that kids are getting in fights and they get to sit in the AP's office through the rest of class eating candy, fun dip, whatever, That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable to me. And now what you're having more and more now is kids go home and they tell their parents, and the kids call the school and they don't say, "What did my child do?" They're calling the schools and they said, "What did you do to my child?"
Right.
And then
Yeah.
teachers are having, and that's what another thing. Teachers are pretty sick and tired of.
Right.
So, and when I was a teacher, I didn't deal with that at all, and that's probably another reason why I don't teach. I don't play games with parents, and I don't sugarcoat it. And as your child did this, that's it. There's a consequence, and I'm not backing down from it. You
Right.
have to pay that penalty. So
That's interesting, though, the rise in this culture of parents who never want their kids to experience any kind of trial or feel uncomfortable. I have several friends and family who I've literally heard that come out of their mouths when it comes to potty training. Like, well, I just don't want her to feel uncomfortable, Or the generation of everyone gets a trophy and my child can never do any wrong. It's always someone else's kid or it's the teacher. And I hate that the teachers are having to deal with that. And how do you change that? It's a cultural thing. It's just like across the board,
Yeah, well, it's more outreach with the community. It's more outreach with the parents. I like what the district does when they do send out trainings and seminars when things come up. But at the end of the day, and we definitely want our teachers to be compassionate to our students absolutely all day long. And if a child does something or student does something, maybe out of character for them, it's not we're just going to go straight to that harsh punishment. We got to figure out what's going on up here. What are you thinking? What's going on? But certainly these kids, they know that there's no consequences being doled out in the school district, and they take full advantage of it. So
what is the difference between maybe 10 years ago where there are more consequences than now? If you pop off to the teacher, did you go to, another class for a week? Did you go to detention for a week? Or how is it different, I guess?
Well, the code of conduct is still has a lot of those same consequences, but they're not being enforced. Mm-hmm. And that's more of a, it's not a quantitative number because they don't report it, so you can't really prove that they're not. But you talk to teachers all day long. This is what's going on. So for me to sit here and say that, well, the district is not doing this, not doing that. I have I've had some interactions with principals, and we're not documenting. And I've had some emails sent to me from parents that say that they're getting. The principals or the APs are saying that we didn't document that incident. It's a situation of bullying. Why wouldn't you document that? So
what's their reasoning?
They don't want it on their on the report.
Oh,
they don't want to report because
it makes their numbers look bad.
Yeah, it makes their numbers look bad, and so when their numbers look too bad, then they will get a phone call from the state of Texas and from Austin, and they don't want to get to that point. But when you think about the dynamic and how diverse Fort Bend ISD is, you're looking at 76% Hispanic, 76% blacks, 26% Hispanic, 26% black, 25% Asian, and 13.8% white. So 75% of your population are minorities. So it kind of stands to reason that if a lot of your behavioral issues are maybe minority, it's not that the district is disproportionately disciplining minority kids, is because more than half of your kids are minority. So that's an easy one to explain.
You got lots of different cultures coming into one school. Yeah, you're going to have problems. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really great for kids to know exactly what consequence they're going to get. Like, if you do this, this is your consequence. If you do this, this is your consequence. It can't be different for different kids. It can't be different because your situation was different, really. If you, like you said, if you go up and you hit a bus driver, it doesn't matter who you are or what grade you're in, the consequence should be the consequence, And I think that the kids completely understand that whether there's going to be a consequence or not. And yes, you can try the SEL and try to get to know your kids that way through community talk. However, the reality is teachers have been getting to know their kids since, the very beginning of teaching. That's just an innate thing in them. If they're that type of personality, they're going to try to get to know their kids so that they work hard for them and work with them.
That's a good point.
So,
no, that's a really good point. And I you get a lot of, so the latest is a lot of parents are at certain schools, a lot of parents are refusing to, I'm not sending my kid to Saturday school because it's inconvenient for me, so kids aren't going to Saturday school because how do you get around, well, you're not going to Saturday school. Well, we can just suspend you, that's what you want to do. But that's kind of what we're dealing with. We're fighting not the students. We're also fighting the parents. It's unfortunate, but I think that's also we could flip the script on that, and that's what I want to do. And like I said, I'm all about compromise. I've always been about compromise, and I'm not saying that we just go right in and say this is my way and it's the highway kind of thing, and that's just how it has to be. Which is, we definitely, at the end of the day, that our students and our parents are our customers, and if we're not putting out a safe and productive learning environment, they're going to leave, and they have left, and they never even enrolled because of the stigma that this district is taking on. So I was actually at a group of homeschool parents a week ago, and that's what a lot of them were telling me. I said, well, I just heard at school that it's not safe, so we're just going to homeschool, and maybe we'll put them in, and so they're not enrolling them, and the district, the way the budgets work is in ISDs is you have to pass a budget before you know how many students you're going to have. And if you know anything about public schools and how they're funded based on what their population is. So if you say we're going to have 80,000 students, and then 2,000 you only have 78,000, well, you budgeted for 80,000 students, but you only have 78,000. So the state of Texas is not going to give you money for 80. They're going to give you money for 78. So at your basic allotment that you get, not even every child, you get $6,160, just basic. Now, if you ever in special services, special education, you get more money. And you take that 2,000 times that basic allotment, you're sitting around like a $12 million already deficit because we miscalculated. And that's why it's so important that the demographers get it pretty close. It's a weighted average daily attendance versus the actual average daily attendance. So that weighted is what they use to set the budget. And if they're off, it's better to be a little bit the other way than lower on the actual figure.
Right. And, the other thing I was going to ask you is I was on the steering committee several years ago with the rezoning because, like I said, I've been in the district. This is my 14th year, and rezoning has always been the issue. And I love how you stated that, you're compassionate about it. It's not, this is just the way it's going to be because someone said it should be this way,
Yeah.
And it has to be very thorough and very thoughtful.
Yeah, I agree. And I definitely am very aware. And when I talked to him, I said, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then you look at the maps and you see that there's a couple of high schools that they're only 60% utilized, and this was only 60% utilized. And one year, one of them flooded, and they moved all the kids from one, and they were all in the same high school, and they fit just fine. And then, so you're kind of like, so, it does get, it's a contentious issue for sure. But these high schools, they have a lot of history, and there's some things that we can do to increase enrollment at these schools, add the academies to some of them that don't have them, get some more students going there. There's a couple of schools that have academies in them that are overcrowded. So it's like, take a couple of the academies out of the school and you get 200 or 300 kids back. That helps alleviate some of that issue. But like I said, every little decision like that, you think it's really easy, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a little bit more than that. So I wish it was just easy, just kind of making that and flipping that switch. But But yeah.
I think the most difficult decision that our district has faced in the last 2 years of COVID is the whole masking and
Right.
pushing and, promoting the vaccine. What are your thoughts about that as an incoming, potential candidate?
As far as
As
mandating masks and all that fun stuff.
masks and promoting vaccines and just that the whole part of what we've seen the last 2 years.
Yeah. So the mask thing, I wasn't happy that they passed a mandate right before they knew the Supreme Court was going to rule one way or the other. And everybody knew that they were going to rule against the mandates. So I had urged them, just wait, let's let the Supreme Court rule. And
it was 2 days. They implemented it for 2 days, and they created such chaos in those schools with those children.
Yeah.
My daughter included as one of them.
Yeah. Well, they voted on it on a Wednesday. So you made half Fort Bend ISD parents and students upset. And then Thursday, they had to go through and update their policies. And then they implemented it on a Friday. And then I was on a Saturday evening or a Sunday morning or something as the Supreme Court said, nope, no mask mandate. So then they had to go back through and undo it. And Monday, no mask. I told them, just wear your mask. It's just respectful thing to do. I tell my kids anyway. I was like, it's a lot of people just don't know, unsure, they're scared, and you feel comfortable wearing a mask. You certainly can wear it if you want to, and you don't have to. My youngest one would wear it, but he's fifth grader. They don't wear it like they're supposed to.
Exactly.
No child will do that. But so then they had to come back and undo it, and then now you just angered the whole other side. We should stand up for the state of Texas and kids and all this stuff. So, but I will say that the Governor Abbott, state legislature didn't make it easy on ISDs. They put them literally between a rock and a hard place because they said there's no mask mandate, but we're not going to pay for online learning. So it was like, well, what are we supposed to do with that? And then they eventually came back and said, we'll pay for online learning for X amount of time. So you should have did that the first day so we wouldn't have this whole mask mandate issue problem. And I always felt that we should be able to compromise on that. And I always thought that optional was the best of both worlds. You give people the option to wear their masks, that's great, and then you give people the option that don't want to wear it, that's fine. And then the ones that don't but can go opt for the online schooling. But then the online schooling can only do so many students based on how much money they can give you. So that was another problem. And then the vaccines, I work for an airline, so I had to get vaccinated, and my kids aren't. They're in great health, and I just very unsure, and
yeah,
it was just no. We can wait, and my oldest goes to Travis High School, and that school has been one of the highest infection rates during the entire COVID season. I used to track every school in every school district, but he all year long, no mask. He's not vaccinated. He's got perfect attendance. So I'm like, you're my case study, buddy. Stay with it.
Good for him. So he didn't wear the mask when he went to school.
I told him when we went back from Christmas holidays, just wear your mask, people. Just be respectful for others, and or just kind of be careful and mind your distance. And he did. I think he may have wore a mask for a couple of days in the beginning, and he didn't wear no mask. He wasn't like that. He's a very good, respectful kid, and he was I just never want. You always forget or whatever. And just, yeah.
Well, my thing was always.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. My issue was always we're requiring these kids to wear masks for 8 hours a day, while they're at school without any breaks. And it's more than any of us were doing. We could leave our work and, take a breath in our car or whatever, but kids are prisoners and,
Yeah. Well, and my youngest, he wore it all the time, even when we told him to stop wearing it. And we had to hide them. And finally, my wife was like, why are you still wearing a mask? And he was like, well, I don't want anybody to see my face, is what he said. I don't want anybody to see my face.
Oh.
And that's sad. That's unfortunate. And
he's in fifth grade, right?
Yeah, he's in fifth grade. So we
that's
had
a
to
hard
hide him.
age. Yeah.
And it's like, it's like a pacifier. It became a pacifier for him. So I was like, no, we're not doing that. It's perfectly fine. And he's okay. He's better now.
That does speak to what we were hearing from, child psychologists during COVID, saying these kids are genuinely very afraid of this, and they're, it's like PTSD level with these children. With some of them, they, she had one lady I heard speaking. It might have been Dr. Angie Farella. Yeah, she said she had a little girl come into her practice, and she said, "Hey, you can take that off. I don't require those in my medical facility." And the little girl was scared to death, and she pulled it back up. So it's like, what are we doing to these kids? We know that it's going to be okay. We're going to survive this, but kids don't,
I mean, we've known it from the very first week of school. When we came back in August of 2021, we knew that they weren't going to work. The kids don't wear them properly. And now it's just a big germ, saturated germ infestation right underneath their nose, that they're breathing it in and they're breathing it out. And
they drop it on the bathroom floor and put it back on.
I don't know how many people how many kiddos sneeze right into their masks. I'm like, okay, would you like to go get a new one? Luckily, we have extra ones if they want it. But yeah, I've experienced the same thing where we had a few weeks ago, we had little kiddos, my little kinder and first grade friends came in, and they were doing a video and they had to record themselves. I'm like, I was completely away from them. The teacher, I was helping them with their technology with recording. And so the teacher dropped them off with me in the library, and I said, okay, this is your area. And I spread them all apart. I said, this is your area. When you record, just take your mask down so everyone, if you're recording, you can see your face. He would not do it. So I was like, that's okay if you're not comfortable doing that. But, it just broke my heart because the teacher reached out to the parent, and the parent was like, yeah, that's okay for that. And I said, I promise he's by himself. I'm not over there. No one's around him. And he could feel free to take it off just for the minute and a half that he was recording his little video of his report that he did, which was really cute. It turned out really good. But my daughter was the same. She's in middle school, and it took me 2 weeks of basically telling her, you're not wearing a mask. And this was December of 2020. And I told her, you're never wearing a mask again. After I learned the harms, and she started having nosebleeds and things like that, there's no way I was ever going to let her wear one again. Yeah, the headaches, the fatigue, it was just a whole lot of things.
Or they call it hypercapnia or something.
Yes, and I saw it with teachers too. I had a teacher who I worked with in 2020, and she would fall asleep mid-sentence. And I was like, wow, I didn't know at the time that it was because of the mask. We were all wearing them at the time, and so it was really crazy. And then once I realized by December of 2020, I was like, no, I have enough. I wore it throughout the rest of the year for work. And then as soon as it was June 5th, I remember June 5th, when we could take it off finally as a teacher, I was like, I will never wear it again. I would quit before I wore that thing again, So, but, I think one of the challenges as a board member, though, is you have all of these people in your ear trying to tell you what the right thing is. I think it's the hardest job to decide as the big community how to protect the kids, because right now telling kids, in my opinion, that it's optional to wear a mask is still harmful, because there's hundreds of reports that they are harmful. And it's interesting, all the doctors and the nurses that talked in front of the board for many times about how they should be wearing them. It just boggles my mind that they're not really looking at the reality of these masks. And so as a board member, who do you really are you going to listen to the doctors who have been encouraging people to take vaccines, and there's millions of side effects already? There's a lot of people that have died already because of the vaccines. Like, where does that draw? Where do you draw the line?
I think we should
listen to, right?
Yeah, our frustration last year was we were going to all these school board meetings and voicing our opinions, talking about the studies that showed masks don't work. And we would just get blank stares from the board, and no response. We were there to advocate, for optional masks, and yet we had to wear masks to go into the boardroom. It was just, we felt powerless as parents who really felt like we were ahead of the curve. But, before it was really even widespread knowledge that masks don't work, we were on it because we were doing our own research. So I think our frustration was we're not being heard, and we want to be able to make these choices for our children, that kind of thing.
Right. And so, and hopefully we never have to go through that again. And the mask debate is said and done. And like I said, I was going to run last year, and in hindsight, I was like, well, I'm kind of glad I didn't.
Stay out of that mess.
I always thought that that was a perfect situation where we could come together as a community and compromise, but it was very polarizing, whether it's like, no, it's my way or the highway. But the folks that wanted the optional, it's like optional is fine, and then some were like, no masks at all. And some people will pull their kids out just because that it was optional, which you can't require no mask. If somebody wants to wear a mask, let them wear a mask,
Yeah, it's a little extreme.
But it was pretty interesting how polarizing it was. So that's one of the reasons why I started tracking. I tracked all the different school districts. I tracked Katy. I tracked HISD had a mandate. I tracked Spring Branch. Spring, one of them had a mandate. Aldine, Galveston had a mandate, and we got some of them are different sizes. And Cy-Fair is pretty big, and they all trended exactly the same. And in some cases, and with Fort Bend ISD having no mandate, they eventually they were at the very tail end of it. And in some instances where HISD with their mandate, they would be above their, so that
that's a good point. So, these schools that were requiring the mask, they were sometimes having worse infection rates, is what you're saying.
But it follows like the cold and flu season. So, that when it's around this time, certain things spike. And I'm not a scientist. I really truly stayed away from all of the. I didn't read it. I don't read any research, and I listen to what the CDC says, and I understand. And I listen to what if the school district says we're going to require it. Well, we can't. We got to wear them. So we play along, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time. I would watch some things here and there, but nowadays it's very hard to know what's real, what's fake. Somebody can create a video of a heist, and it's really it's like somebody, look, we just got a video of this guy robbing a bank, but it's really actors pretending like they're robbing a bank. You just don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I don't know what to believe anymore. So I do watch the news less these days, just because I'm at that level. It's like, when you get up to the national level, I enjoy working on the HOA in the mud and working with the county, because I can get things done at that level in the school district. I mean, working with principals directly and board trustees, and because we can get things done and we can come together as a community. So I typically don't get knee deep in
local, keeping it local.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't get knee deep in a lot of the political, and I understand that there might be some situations where that may come up for me, but I have no problems with fighting that fight where it needs to be. And we're not going to, as long as I'm on the board, we're not going to have a mask mandate policy. We're not going to require people to get COVID vaccines. And there is some of the vaccines that you have to get to enroll in school, the vaccines that have been out years and years and decades, and there are waivers that they have now for medical reasons, religious reasons, and that's not changing. So I don't believe in the quickest way to get people to not do something is to try and force them to do something, and that's the whole reason why I was like, you can make it optional, and then everybody's happy. And if you put a mandate in place, then you're going to have this whole group of outraged folks, and they're going to wear a mask anyway. They're going to be fighting you left and right. So in a free society, now you can go and do this in Germany, you can do this in China or whatever, but in a free society, we can't change our rules. We can't change our constitution just because that's what you want us to do to make you feel comfortable. That's not how it works in a free society. And if you notice, and I'm a history teacher, I've studied I have a degree in political science, kinesiology. So, studying a lot of these things and over the years, and if you notice throughout history, when a major event or a crisis happens or something happens, and society in general, they want the government to do something, and they say, we will give you less of our freedom if you fix this problem.
Exactly.
So the government comes in and they say, well, we'll help fix the problem, and we'll take a little bit more free. And do you think that they give it back? They don't give it back.
Nope.
So the more that we sort of open ourselves up to a lot of these, and the national politics have gotten so polarized, but I like I said, the compromise, I've always been about compromise and just trying to solve the problem. And you just have to be very careful because if we want to change our Constitution, let's change the Constitution. Let's do it the proper way. Let's not go and try to skirt these, these little things. And but like I said, we're not mandating masks. I don't believe in mandating COVID vaccines. With the majority of the population now, I think we've got it. I don't think you're ever going to see an end to COVID. People are going to still get it, and it's going to end up being just a regular thing that we have to do. I've had it twice, and even vaccinated, I've had it. So it's just going to be one of those things that we as a society have we've been through that hell and that fear and that horror. Now that I think we've all seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and I just pray to God that nothing like that ever happens again. So we don't have to make those types of decisions.
Yeah. Have you seen the pledge from the Texas for Vaccine Choice about making sure that this vaccine stays a choice? Because I know that you believe that it should be a choice, right?
I can pull that up right now, actually, so we can see it on screen.
Yeah, I think I might have had that. Yeah, I looked at that. Texas for Vaccine Choice. Yeah,
what is it? Prohibit all vaccine mandates in Texas, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I emailed her. I had a question. I said, does that include like the vaccines you get before you have to enter the schools? Because I still believe that we don't want you coming and bringing chicken pox and things like that. But I emailed her and asked her. I said I wouldn't really have a problem with signing that. Just, as far as COVID vaccines and flu vaccines are optional. So.
Yeah, we know they're only 38% effective anyway. That's just big money.
Yeah.
It's I believe they said it's $28 billion profits, and then it's 38% effective, and then they get the money on the flip side from Theraflu and all of the other drugs as well. So it's, I think this is a really great opportunity for a lot of people to look into the medical field and try to figure out what is really going on, because I know most of the people I know are on at least 1 to 5 prescriptions. And I just wonder why, when I go to the doctor and I'm not on anything, they're like, you're not taking anything? Like, you're weird. You're strange. I'm like, no, I'm pretty healthy. I mean, and I think that, like you said before, Rick, that people are looking to someone else to help them with whatever their problem is, like the government or the Board of Education to solve their problems, or the medical field to solve. You have a little sniffle, you got to take something. Okay, well, then you got to take something else to get rid of whatever the side effect of your sniffle medication was, right? So I think it's really good for the board members, in my opinion, after this whole situation, is to really kind of figure out really pay attention to what's going on with the vaccines and what's really going on with I would say even the vaccine clinics that we're still having. Even though if you just do a quick Google search on VAERS, you can see there's so many adverse effects. There's all different types. There's 9 pages of adverse events that the CDC had to release based on a judge signing that they couldn't wait 75 years to let us know that information. 9 pages of side effects from these vaccines. So, I think it's really important going forward for anyone who's going to serve on any board to kind of know all that information before making decisions on promoting vaccines or promoting flu vaccines on campuses, promoting mask mandates or mask wearing or mask optional. I think it's really important because we're talking about our young kids who they're just going to basically do what they're told because they have no choice.
Yeah. So I don't, yeah. And kids shouldn't be being advertised to with stuff like that. That's more of a parent. You send that to parents, and if parents want to boost their kids or get a flu vaccine for their kids, that's perfectly fine. And if the district is, the vaccine clinics, and I have a feeling that all came up, and I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling that a lot of that came up just because of the budget shortfall that they're in, and they're just trying to find ways to, first of all,
the ESSER funds probably. They're getting the ESSER funds for having all of these requirements.
Well, the ESSER funds came from the government, so they were probably looking for a way to generate revenue, and that's one of the things. They signed a contract with the county, and the county could go do the clinics on their sites. And in a way, for the district, it was twofold. They get to help provide, more readily available access for vaccines for people that want it, and they're making money off of it. So twofold, they're trying to make up some of that deficit. And you can't blame them, but at the same time, you're going to do something like that. You got to make darn sure that we're not soliciting kids. You're not trying to get kids to take a vaccine without parental consent. You better make sure that you're doing it way after the students have left, including all your after-school activities. So I hope that I don't see or hear any more of that. But like I said, I think in general, I really. I can't blame them. I know that a lot of people, they shouldn't be doing it at all. Well, but it's just like y'all say mask optional. It's vaccine optional. You have it, just give them an option to go. If they want to take it, they can take it. If not, like I said, just keep it away from trying to solicit kids without their parents around. That's completely unacceptable.
Right. And I mean, teachers shouldn't be talking to children about vaccines either. And I believe that was happening.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
The ABCs, math. Let's bring back civics.
The basics.
Let's bring back civics in the classroom. Teach our kids to be productive members of society.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
While we're on that topic too, I guess we should say critical race theory that has no place in the classroom, in our opinion. And I don't know what your opinion is on that, or what you could do to push back on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe in critical race theory. I don't subscribe to any of those. I don't teach my kids that because you're a brown person that, this or that. And I don't teach, when I was in history, we didn't, the vaqueros were the first cowboys of Texas. They were black. That's amazing. That's amazing
Right.
history right there. So you celebrate each other's differences. You don't say that one side is better than the other, or there's a history of this. You teach the history because you know what they say about history. So, but state of Texas has 2 bans on critical race theory, so it's not allowed to be taught in the classrooms. I know it's always a big issue. So it's not in the TEKS, and teachers don't teach it. They're not supposed to teach it, but that doesn't mean that some of them can't slip something in, or a school district may buy a set of books that have something like that in some of the books that they are offering. So you teach hate breeds hate. If you teach everybody love and compassion and how to celebrate each other and celebrate each other's differences. The most diverse county in this entire state of Texas, and one of the most diverse counties in the country. We teach that, and I think that message will resonate with our students and our faculty and our administration.
Right. And I was talking to a teacher yesterday about critical race theory because we have a difference of opinions on it, of course. And it was really interesting to kind of explain where parents are coming from, because she doesn't have children yet. But I said, here's why I think parents are so upset. It's probably not the foundation of what critical race theory is supposed to be, or how it was started, just like SEL for social emotional learning. It's not supposed to be intended for nefarious reasons. It's not supposed to be intended to put anyone down, or
Right.
to indoctrinate anyone with your own personal ideals. If you're a teacher and you're trying to engage your kiddos and helping them to get to know each other through those talks.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
think the problem is with CRT is that we've seen how it's been used in the wrong way, and we're like, we don't want any of that. We don't want that at
Yeah.
all. Like, we don't want children lined up like they did in Austin, and we're gonna line up the kids who are whitest and then red hair. You're kind of like the stepchild, and then they're basically lining them up by different tones of their face, And then in another state in New York City, they were asking kids to fill out a survey. So I mean, I still ask my daughter, are they having you fill out any surveys about anything? Just let me know. I'm interested.
Yeah.
Because they always kind of throw, certain people that have certain agendas, they're going to throw it in there in whatever way they can. But I find it really interesting because I think some people are like, well, CRT is not really a big deal. Don't we want to teach the history of what really happened to everybody? Well, of course, but we can go all the way back to biblical times and figure out what happened to what the Egyptians did to the people, what the Romans did to the people. And then we could really have a good discussion. It can't just be one group of people, But I think the crazy part is that I don't really feel like CRT was really intended for what other people have kind of polluted it to be. And so we just don't want it at all.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like, these group of kiddos, you're white, so then we're going to group the black kids together, and then the white people, why don't you apologize to the black kids? I mean, I was talking to this teacher, and she was like, that really happened? I said, yeah, that's why we don't want it, because people just take it to the extreme. They can't just, and we should just be teaching tolerance. We should be teaching love. We should be teaching respect. We should be teaching that there are consequences to our actions, whether it's a good consequence. I always say a good consequence or a bad consequence, because we don't have to do positive reinforcement. It's just, here, there's a consequence if you do something good. We have reward systems, and then there's a consequence if you do something bad. So there's good and bad consequences. So.
No, I agree. And that's a big problem in the classroom in general, is there's no consequences. So, and I like I said, I had that teacher forum, and the overarching sentiment is that they're struggling in the classroom, and teachers are leaving in the classroom because they're not only having a hard time getting work done, they're always going to be overworked. It just seems like they're always overworked. That's the main problem. But you compound that with misbehaving kids, and you compound that with parents that are screaming in their ear, and at 2, and you figure out, well, that's why they're leaving. It's not. Yeah. Everybody goes straight to, well, we don't pay them enough. Well, of course we don't pay them enough, but how long have we not been paying teachers enough?
Exactly.
I was making $28,000 a year when I first started teaching 25 years ago, and I knew then and there that you ain't paying me enough, so that's why I'm not teaching anymore. So that's not the real reason why teachers are leaving, because they're not getting paid enough. That's one of the reasons. But you take the additional workload and all the extra things that are going on in their environment, and then you add that pay factor in there. You go, I'm not making enough for this. So
to deal with
exactly.
this.
Yeah, it becomes a deal breaker. And if we can't get our teachers to teach past that 5th year, you lose them forever. That once they're gone, they're gone. They'll flip a career. But once we get a teacher that can stay in the profession for after the first 5 years, they're a teacher usually for life. And we need that experience in the classroom. And as of right now, there's a study that was done that of all the high school graduates in the state, it's not to ask every single, it's just a general survey. Only 3% of them were considering education as a field of study in college. And you talk about a teacher shortage now. Let's see what happens in 4 years with nobody going in and wanting to be a teacher. So
right, and then
maybe
you have
that's when they'll well, we should pay them $100,000 a year, that way we get more teachers in. So maybe that'll happen under my watch, and everybody think it was because of me that teachers are making making 6 figures.
Well, I mean, and with the decline in the IQ based on psychologists over the past 2 years because of COVID, I mean, it's just going to be harder to get these kids caught up where they need to be without the parents having to put them in tutoring. And so really, the teachers can get them caught up if they're able to focus, if the kids are able to focus in the classrooms and they're not causing discipline issues. You can get a lot done in 8 hours,
Yeah.
So
For sure. Yeah, for sure. The distractions is paramount, and it's a major issue. It's not the only issue. The district has a spending problem as well. They have spending money on things that we're not using, or they spend money on things that they shouldn't spend their money on. I never thought that they should have spent $22 million on contact tracing. I know that KDISD didn't spend $22 million on contact tracing, and KDISD has 12,000 more students than we do. And
There's still contact tracing.
I think there's still a component of it. They still send the emails and stuff, but
they're still, like, the administrators are still calling people to let them know that they've been in close contact. Just happened yesterday at my school.
Okay, yeah, and
they're still doing it.
Yeah, well, and that's fine. We're not paying somebody extra to do that. Is kind of the point of that exercise. And we paid all these people, all these contractors to come in and check temperatures and do all these things and track kids and find out where and the process in-house could have been a little bit easier. I don't want to take temperatures. I don't want to take temperatures. I want to. It wasn't a streamlined process at all. Even when they had paid $22 million for somebody to do it, it was still a huge mess.
Right.
And
it also takes away the assistant principals or whoever's doing it away from the kids and being able to help with the discipline or whatever the other issues are. I mean, it just, at this point, you have to kind of research what is contact tracing and does it really work? Is it really effective? So, and if it's not, then why are we still doing it? And I think that's one of the problems. I think when Fort Bend starts something, they don't want to take it away.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and that's happened several times. That was one of the things that came up in our teacher forum. Is we have these things and we pay for these things and we don't get rid of these things, and it's and
is it hoarding? Do we have some hoarders at the top?
We're hoarding for school district maybe, but I'm a big. I'll find money. I can find money all day long. I've done it many times in my life. I've done it many times on the HOA on the mud board. When we had zero budget, we now have a $30,000, $40,000 budget just for events for this small little neighborhood. And I'll find it, and we'll fight it, and we'll figure it out. That's more of a state issue, and that is a state issue. But we also have a little bit of a Fort Bend ISD issue. Definitely why I'm here. And my opponent has been there for a while. Like I said, I said it last night. Amazing career. I'm going to name a building after him one day. I have no doubt. But you seen what the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different result. Well, we're well past our glory days of 2018 with our school district of the year. We're now in a state of decline, and now we're in that insanity period. So I'm here to bring us out and lift us up and get us moving forward in the right direction.
Well, Rick, we're really glad that you came on tonight. Is there any upcoming events that you have going on?
I had
Before
a phone.
It all opens. Everything opens on Monday. You can start early voting on Monday, and then the actual voting day, if you vote on the voting day, it's May 7th.
Right. So it's going to be hard to do events because we're going to be working the polls and I may try to do some Facebook Live AMA events during the week after work, so folks can have a little access to me. Just make a quick decision if they're on the fence. They shouldn't be on the fence. They should know pretty well they're voting for me. But if they are, I'm going to try to give some folks some access. Just stay in touch on the Facebook page. I will probably do an AMA. I might do one Sunday right before Election Day, and I might do another one on Monday night. So just stay tuned, and it'll be a Facebook Live. Those will be interesting to see what kind of questions come at you at the spur of the moment. So definitely look forward to talking with everybody. I've been sending everybody my phone number on Facebook, all the forums, all the concerns pages, and just call me. And nobody's calling me. I think they all pretty much know they're voting for me. So.
That's awesome. So you're pretty much Vote Rick Garcia on Facebook, on
everything.
Twitter,
Yeah, Vote Rick Garcia.
VoteRickGarcia.com as well as your website.
Yeah, I thought it was better than Vote Garcia, the number 4 FBISD. I didn't want to, but yeah, Vote Rick Garcia.
Sure.
Yeah, I may run for president one day. Who knows?
You're on a good track.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on tonight. We appreciate you, and best of luck to you in your run for Board of Education, position number 3, Rick.
Yeah, thank you so much. You'll have a good one.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Alrighty.
And we have some events coming up too, right?
Yes, we do. We went a little bit longer tonight.
Yeah, we
It's
did.
great to have these board member candidates on because we get to know them pretty well in our conversation. So
Yeah.
if you feel like you need to reach out to him and ask him more specific questions, I would definitely do that. I hope that a lot more teachers are following who the candidates are. I know early on in my teaching career, I didn't know anyone on the board. I was terrible. And we do have policies, as teachers or educators, we cannot promote anyone within the school day. While we're at work, we can't use, email. So things like that. Read the email that was just sent out today if you're a teacher or educator in Fort Bend, because they did kind of spell it out pretty clearly. I've known before what to do and what not to do, because I wish I could just email the whole district and say, hey, here, at least here are the candidates. But people are smart; they can research for themselves. So they're really interested in making choices to make change in our district. Then take a look at the candidates and the opposing candidates as well. We have Jim Rice, who's running again. He's the incumbent. So take a look at him and see if he's someone that take a look at his voting record and what he's voted for throughout the district, and see for yourself if that's whoever you're going to choose to vote for. So May 7th is the actual day to go vote if you're going to vote on the voting day.
Yeah, and that's why we do these interviews, right? So that you can see the person firsthand in a conversation and decide for yourself if you like them.
So we have we have our FMAG meeting that's coming up this Sunday. So we have, what's the best way for people to get a hold of us if they want to join our Telegram?
So our Telegram channel is, public, and you can find out details about it there. So let's see, I'm going to share our Telegram information. There you go. Follow us at FMAGTX on Telegram, and we post about all of our upcoming meetings, all of our events that are coming up. It's great because you can just be tuned in right there and know what's going on with us.
We have a special guest on Sunday, don't we?
Yeah, we do. What is her name? Cindy. Cindy from the Convention of States is a special guest to talk about the Omega Brief by Texas Right to Know. What is that? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I have to look that up.
Yeah.
She's going to discuss the success stories of handing these documents to local city and county officials, and will train us on how to do it locally. So it must be something to do with, if I had to guess, something to do with freedom.
Yeah, that's usually our topic.
And the Constitution, and how to go about, because a lot of us, we're new, we're grassroots, and we're just learning on the fly most of the time. We are learning as we go. What we have the capacity to do, and what we have the capacity to change, and who we have the capacity to influence. So I'll have to look at it.
Sunday, April 24th in Katy. I don't think we've announced the location yet. It's probably still up in the air, but just tune in.
Yeah, just join our Telegram channel, and you'll get the information there. You can just come in, we'll add you, and then you can ask us about the meeting on Sunday, and we'll hook you up with information. Then we have also voting opens on Monday for the Board of Education, like we said before. And then we have a couple other events that are coming up too.
Right.
We have the Jennifer Bridges event that's coming up at the end of the month on Saturday, April 30th. And we have another event that's coming up too with some of the doctors. If you are really interested in learning more about what's going on with COVID and the vaccines and things like that, you probably don't want to miss out on this. It's unfortunately the same weekend as Jennifer Bridges, but hey, maybe go to the Jennifer Bridges, and then after you head on up to to the other one. So let's get that information up there.
Yeah. And I just real quick on this one, I love that Jennifer is really fighting for Alexandra Mueller, who's running against Lena Hidalgo for Harris County Judge. So if you want to, meet her or hear her speak, this is a really good event to go to. She sounds awesome. And she's running against another Republican who is basically a Democrat, Fidel Martinez. He has donated to Democrat campaigns before. He's almost like a wolf in sheep's clothing. I think Democrats are running him against her. So go out and see her at this event.
And this is the website that you can get tickets So
Okay. And this is the
Angie
other
Farrella.
one, right?
This is the same one.
Oh, it's the
This
same.
is
Okay.
this is the April 30th. This is Angie Farrella, Dr. Farrella.
Yeah.
You know what? I said that wrong. This is the Meet the Doctors. Yeah, this is the one that I'm talking about for. Okay. Am I still sharing?
I see
Like-
the Angie Farrella link.
Oh, okay. I'm not sharing.
Mhm.
Let me share the website because that's a little bit better.
Okay.
There we
Let's
go.
do that.
Okay, here's the other one, medicalcensorship.org. This is the one, this is the other one. Yeah, so we have the
Okay.
Jennifer Bridges. That's also on the 30th. This one actually starts on Friday the 29th on day one. So you can come and meet some of the early frontline doctors are going to be there, like Dr. Farrella, Dr. Stella Emanuel. We have several doctors. Dr. Urso is probably one of my favorite doctors just because he helped my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
He
He
helped my
father-in-law too.
oh
Yeah,
my
he's
gosh,
great.
he's so amazing, and he's just he's an amazing person altogether because I offered him, like, how can I pay you, like, for your consultations? Because generally you have a conversation with a doctor and they're going to you're going to have to pay a fee, like $125 for a consultation. He charged me nothing. I spoke to him several times. He looked at my brother-in-law's charts, medical charts, and gave us recommendations that we were able to then give to the doctors because they were not controversial medications. They were able to change his protocol while he was in the hospital and just change the course of events that happened after that. And so it was just so great to see because he was really close to being put on a ventilator. And I truly believe that Dr. Urso and his work has helped save my brother-in-law's life. And now he's home. He's been home for the past few weeks, and we got to see him over the weekend. He's doing much better. He still has some recovery. It's not going to be perfect. He still has some oxygen. But he's doing so much better, and we are so grateful for doctors like Dr. Urso, like Dr. Stella Emanuel, like Dr. Farrella, and Dr. McCalla. There are some doctors that are not on here that we have been following for the past, at least, I think it's been 2 years now, because they started coming out in March or April when they were talking about how they were starting to treat COVID patients with alternative medications like hydroxychloroquine and things like that, and it was working, and that the pandemic could have been ended early on if they had just listened. And then they were censored by every media outlet. You know, the board of the doctors, I guess it was medical boards, were trying to shut them down. And I mean, it's just
investigations. Yeah, I mean, Farrella, Emanuel, and Urso were all at that America's Frontline Doctors press conference on the steps of the Supreme Court, and that was super early on, right?
Right. And Dr. Simone Gold, I mean, she's been put in jail for what?
Yeah.
I mean, she's been jailed. Like, it's been just
her
a
house
crazy,
raided.
Yeah, it's just been a crazy time. But you can come here to medicalcensorship.org/FDC, and you can, it's a weekend event, so it's really the 29th and 30th. So there's a 2-day conference. You can sign up, or you could just donate. But I suggest, if you really want to know information, come and hear these doctors speak, find out, you know, and then do your research like we've been doing the past few years about COVID and what's really going on, because there's something going on that they're not telling us. And these are really great doctors to go listen to. So
for sure. Yeah. And and we have one more to promote. We have a Freedom Matters Action Group event coming up on May 25th. This is a preliminary flyer that we have ready to go. We're going to have Seth Keshel speaking. He's the one who is the election integrity guy. And if you haven't heard him speak about the 2020 elections and all of the fraudulent, you know, indicators that are within that time period, you need to hear him speak. And then, of course, we have Jennifer Bridges, Angela Box, Chris Heasley is on leadership with FMAG, and he's great. And our MC is Dr. Seema Nanda. So,
and if you haven't heard Dr. Nanda speak before, she is just, she's so fun. She's so funny.
Cute.
She's really cute. She's very witty. I'm so glad to see all these people there.
Yeah, she keeps the energy up.
And hey, it includes dinner, so come out with your family.
Yeah. So tickets are $50, but that includes dinner. We feel like it's a really good rate to be able to sit there and hear these amazing speakers and have your food at the same time.
And it's not too far. It's right there in Missouri City. So
yeah,
awesome.
Exactly.
Well, Becky, I know this is a lot longer than we had anticipated tonight. We're like, oh, this is going to be a quick show, but it always.
I feel like when you and I run the shows, they go longer because we both like to talk.
Sometimes I think I keep talking about the same thing over again.
Yeah, I know. It's me too.
Give us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing.
Yes,
how about that?
Please share.
Truth, that's okay. We can handle it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Becky. Well, it's great to see you. And
you too.
Good luck to everybody who's running for whatever. I have a friend of mine who's running for Board of Education in Needville. I mean, it's just amazing to see so many people kind of step up and out of their comfort zone, because you could kind of tell that Rick Garcia is like, I never thought that I was going to be doing this, but,
Yeah, he seems like a really passive, mild-mannered person, but he's stepping up. And I liked his answers on CRT. I like that he's, he definitely is for optional masks and not promoting vaccines. We don't need a fire-breathing, angry patriot all the time. Sometimes it's good to have someone who's measured. Like you and I, we're the fire breathers.
Yeah, we're the fire. Yeah, I've been called a firecracker before by teachers. They know me. It's okay. Yeah. I am who I am. It's okay.
Yeah, you own it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean no harm to anybody, truly.
Yeah.
I just, I like my freedom, and it's so important that that everyone does the research to find out what's really going on, and not just to kind of believe what the media is saying. I mean, I would say it's been about 4 or 5 years that I've just realized just the media lies. Mm-hmm. And then you can tell if you are traveling, try it out. If you're traveling and you are watching the news in your city, and then you travel to another city, you turn the news on, they're saying the same thing because the umbrella of the companies are up here, and they're telling
their talking points.
They have their talking points, and they're going to say the same thing to try to, and it's, we teach it in 4th grade. It's propaganda. So, so
think for yourself, do your own research. That's what we stand
for.
And
don't depend on anybody else to do something for you or to help you make a decision. Do it yourself. Go out there.
Especially the government.
Yeah.
They're going to make the wrong decision for you.
When has the government ever really been helpful? I mean, asbestos has been good, but not good. And then cigarettes while you're pregnant was good and not good. I don't know. It's like,
I think you should think for yourself.
Yes, exactly. Well, have a great night, everybody. And it's so good to see you again, Becky. Glad to have you back on.
Thanks, Teresa. Okay.
Have a good night. Bye, everybody.